Welcome, welcome. My name is Elizabeth A. Corshu. I am the founder and CEO of Nurse Exec Innovations, a career coaching brand and global health consulting brand designed specifically for nurses and healthcare professionals. I am also the curator of the platform called Pass the Mic. Some of you are saying, what is Pass the Mic? Who is Pass the Mic? Well, Pass the Mic is a platform designed specifically for game changers, visionaries, advocates are looking to execute their global footprints into areas of healthcare, business, technology, culture, and so much more. Today, I am delighted and honored to have our special guest. Not only is she a renowned author, but she's also a jazz inspirational flutist. And today we have Dr. Dara Marie Lemite with us, and she's going to share one of her wonderful curated pieces called Affirmation. Dara.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Wow. Thank you so much for blessing us with that piece.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. If you can just share with the audience tonight and those that are just, if you can introduce yourself and then
Yes.
the audience tonight, what inspired you to curate that wonderful piece called Affirmations?
Thank you so much. Thank you. First of all, oh my goodness, thank you so much, Elizabeth Horseshoe, for inviting me. I'm so honored to be here at Nurse Exec Innovations. And it's just an honor to share with your audience members and just to speak with you tonight and share about my music and also, my ministry. So the song is called Affirmation. And Affirmation, that song was birthed several years ago as I was going through a significant challenge. And at that time, it's like I truly believe God gave it to me. God, of course, God always gives us gifts, right? They say that
Yes.
every perfect gift comes from above, right? So the
Yes.
Lord, He gave me that song and He gave me that melody. One day I woke up with that melody on my heart. And
Mm.
it was like a constant repetition, like an affirmation. And
Yes.
at that time I was learning about, how we can really speak our life into existence and
Yes.
that there's power in our words, the words that we speak and the things that we think. And at that time, I started to speak affirmations over my life. So
Wow.
I knew that melody. I felt like the Lord was giving it to me for a reason, and I knew I had to get to the studio. And I was like, okay, I got to record this song, and it's the song that everyone seems to love. Like
Yes.
everyone, when they
Yes.
hear it, they're like, oh my gosh, they love that song, and it's one of my favorites too. So
Yes, yes, it really speaks to one's heart. And if you can just like share with the viewers, if it's not too personal, can you just maybe cite some examples of what you're going through that maybe someone will be inspired watching this?
sure. At the time, I was going through a separation, which was leading to a divorce, and it was very painful. And also, I was a new mom. I'm a mother of one child, Matthew, and becoming like soon, during that season, I ended up becoming a single mother. I was going through a divorce, and it was very heartbreaking. And it brought me into a season of like sadness, like depression. I was having anxiety. I was fearful of like what was going to happen in my future and like where what was going to happen. But in that season, I learned to trust God and lean on God like never before. And it's
Wow.
amazing because I'm a firm believer that our pain, it pushes us
Mm.
to our purpose if we will allow it. And
Hmm.
it's amazing because I thank God for going through that season because had I not gone through that season, there wouldn't be the books, there wouldn't be the music, the ministry, all of that was birthed in that season.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Thank you. Wow. There
it's
was some,
amazing.
yeah, there was something that you said. If you could just repeat, you said that point in time, you knew that you had to lean on God. Is that what
Yes,
I heard you
yes.
saying? You
I
could
had to
just
lean on
repeat that.
God.
You had to lean on
Yeah.
God because you had a period of, you said, worry and anxiety. And one of the things that I'm just reiterating that piece where you said, lean on God. Um,
Mm,
some people will use God. I'm a firm believer in God. God.
yes.
There are people that practice, Hinduism, Buddhism, you know, with, Muslim faith. There is a higher power. There's a sovereign power.
Yes. Him.
There
Him.
are miracle mighty. It's called miracle signs and
The
wonders.
wonders.
Miracle signs and wonders. And when you played that piece, for
Mm,
those of you that have tuned in maybe a little bit later, go and listen to that piece called Affirmation. That piece will speak to your heart. You actually, if I may be so confident and to give, I actually feel like my father is entering the broadcast tonight to share.
wow.
You reminded me when you played Affirmation when I was in nursing school, the jazz player, oh my gosh, Caucasian guy, curly hair. Oh my goodness. Kim,
Kenny G.
thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. As soon as you say
Thank you.
Caucasian,
Thank you. Thank you.
Billy
Thank you.
Anthony G, sax,
Thank you.
sax player. Yes.
Yes, yes. So, when you play for me, because let me tell you, girl, I have people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're so strong, you're so," and I look at them and I say, "Yeah, it's supernatural strength. It's from above, from God." And a lot of times, I always have a soundtrack, and it's a I'm writing a book, basically talking about the different soundtracks that have inspired my life,
Yeah.
inspired my periods, and I just mentioned to you in nursing school, girl, I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of, oh, girl, that's all I have to say. And it was Kenny G, it was Sade that really,
Sade, I love Sade. Yes.
Kenny G were on repeat. You hear me? Along with other hip hop artists, but
Yes, of
those
course.
those two, because I had to study and be in a
Yeah.
calm. When you
Calm environment.
when you're dealing with human interaction, serving humanity, you have to be at a whole nother level of
Yes,
calm.
you
You have
do.
to
You
have a
do.
whole nother level of belief. You
Of
have to
course.
have a whole level of faith. You
Of
have
course.
a whole nother level of imagination. People
That's
are
right. That's right.
people are holding on to your hand saying, "Am I gonna make it?" And you're
I
like,
know. Oh my goodness.
"Yes, you
Mm.
are." And in the back of your mind, you're like, "God help us."
Help me.
But anyway, I could go on and on, but definitely, definitely, thank you for blessing us with that peace.
Thank
And
you.
did you always know that you wanted to aspire to become an inspirational jazz flutist? Like, did you like?
No, it's funny because like I played the flute when I was a kid. Like I knew at like I remember third grade hearing the instrument at a concert. Like it was a school
Okay,
concert, but
okay,
band didn't start till fourth grade. So I had to wait all the way to fourth grade.
okay,
And I just connected with the sound of the flute. I heard the flute and I was like, that's the instrument that I want to play. And I
okay,
remember telling my parents, I want that instrument. And, they rented it at the time for me. I started lessons, band lessons at school, played it, like kept playing throughout high school. And it's funny because my dad, when they knew I was serious about the flute and wanting to become, and then I wanted to become a music teacher. And so now, like, I was a senior and, applying to different colleges and you have to decide your major. And once again, we talked about this, having like Caribbean or African parents, right? It's, they're like tough. And I remember my dad was like, you want to do what? My money's paying for what? You going to go to school to play the flute? He was like, oh my God. He was like beside himself at the time. And I was like, no, I want to be a music teacher. He's like, you want to teach music? I was like, yeah. So now, lo and behold, like years later, he's like, oh my God, he brags to people. Oh, yeah, she teaches music at the school she went to, and she's been teaching for how many years, and she writes books and plays music, and she play here, and she play there, and she do all this stuff.
she played, and she play. Yes, on the play,
So it's so funny. Like, um, but I knew I wanted to play music. I knew I wanted that to be a part of my life. And like I always knew I wanted to teach. So I was able to merge the two, which is like
Okay.
I feel like a gift and I can pour that into children. And so I thank God for that. So like I get to still perform my music, but then like during the day I'm teaching. So I enjoy that.
Awesome, awesome.
Mhm.
So I just have a question because there are probably someone who's watching tonight, or those who will catch the replay might be watching with a young female aspiring artist who wants to play the flute, and I totally, totally, totally get it because I was immersed into the arts, culture, and dance, and
Mhm.
well, I thought I was supposed to be the next Debbie Allen. And when I said I wanted to go and dance, I
Yeah.
was told I didn't cross the Atlantic Ocean for you to dance. So I was okay, okay. And then, mom had her parlay. So I just just curious to know how, because things are definitely different from our generation to this, our kids' generation and those coming after
Of
your
course.
generation. How would you parlay? How would you encourage a young, aspiring, budding artist to parlay their pitch it? That's a word. I didn't know
Yeah,
that
their
word.
vision, definitely.
How would you pitch it?
Yeah, one thing is like I truly believe, and it's funny, I was like a lot of times I have these conversations I call it with God, and I really believe like even today earlier I was talking, like the Lord was downloading into me about vision and that and even our dreams. Our dreams, I truly believe, they're given to us by God. That inspiration comes to us from God. So if you have that desire, it's because it's for you. Like
Mhm.
your desire desires you, The Bible
Mhm.
says like delight yourself in him and he'll give you the desires of your heart. So
Yes.
if we like for example, I've never had like the desire to become a gymnast, right? But
Mhm.
Simone Biles and other like great gymnasts, right, desired that and they
Mhm.
went for it. So I would say to a young musician, a young singer, young artist, whatever gift they have, if it's something that like they go to sleep thinking about it, they wake up thinking about it, it's something that they're supposed to do. I would say go for it. Go for it. Believe in
Wonderful.
yourself and go for it because there are no limits. It's only the limits that we create. Once we step out of that, we really
Yes.
become limitless and move in faith.
Yes. Yes. I love it. So if you could repeat that last part, you said we're the ones that create. We set the limits, and we have to
Yeah,
move.
we set the limits. Like, and the thing is, it's like once we really start to walk by faith and trust, I believe, trust God, like life becomes limitless. And those like desires, like I would tell a young person or anybody, like don't think those desires are there by accident. That dream is there by accident. Because a lot of times, sometimes we'll think the dreams are just for the 20 something year olds or the teens, but there's those of us that are 40s and beyond, right? That still have dreams and visions. And like we have that because we're supposed to do that. I believe it's a part of our purpose of why we're still here. So I
Yes.
say
Yes.
go for it. Go
Go
for it.
for it. Go
Let
for it.
anything hinder you. Move
Love
forward and
it. Love it. So you kind of segue into how did Dara,
yes.
so educational wise, because you have your doctorate degree, if you can kind of share
Yes.
what that educational journey looked like for you. Did you always know that you were going to get your doctorate? Were you inspired by someone, a particular? Usually for me, there's always been a moment throughout my career. It's always
Yes.
been something that I was dissatisfied with that I said, okay, I need, like I tell people, I've had say, oh, how come you didn't go and do this track or that? I said, no, I've always had a level of vision and leadership. And I always look at systems, I look at things globally. I have big visions. I've been blessed with the power of vision,
Mm.
way beyond, way beyond. So I say all that to say, how did you know what track? I mean, I know you did music, but how did you know to pursue, the higher levels of education,
Well,
and
yeah.
also to finally decide to, create a book, write a book?
Right. Well, yes, and the doctoral portion, that's my honorary doctorate, and that's in ministry. And the thing is, like with ministry, that's always has been like I would say, along with music, that has always been running alongside, even from a teen. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was in like a music. I would help at the church. I was a musician at the church. I was in the choir. I served in the soup kitchen. I still today serve on a homeless board in Long Island in Hempstead. And so ministry has always been at the heart of what I wanted to do. And
Yes.
ministry is also service. It's amazing because I said, even though I went into teaching, if teachers would really look at it, it's service. We're
Service.
serving kids, right? We're raising,
Right.
helping to raise and impart and instill and empower, right? It's heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like them learning the notes and stuff, that's just a part of it. But me being able to connect with other children and that's someone else's child and pour into them and encourage them and like just love on them and make them feel special, that's ministry. So That has always been like a part of me. My faith is what really like that's my driving force in my life. That's
Mhm.
what has always like um push me to go forward and push me to move into things that God wants me to do. As I was sharing with some other ladies yesterday, like the ministry portion and like faith and imagination, which is like my latest book, I can't turn it off. I take it with me everywhere, you
Yes.
know? Like today, for example, practical example at school, I had a group of students, and somehow, the thing that's still on the land, I don't want to call it by name and give it more power because I believe words create or I
High
understand
five.
that. And I
Yes.
understand like the science part, the subconscious part, but also the faith part. Words, there's death and life in the power of the tongue.
Oh, there's
So
definitely power. Power. My father, let me tell you, my father, as a professor, even was a professor as a child in Africa. We talked behind the scenes, and that'll be another talk. But he said
that's,
there's power, 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 power,
he's right.
power. And I watched because both, like you talked about ministry, service,
Yes.
he, he was an educator. My mother was a nurse. They were both in service
That's
industry.
service. Yeah, it's serving. It's
So
just in different
you're
forms.
infusing life. Whatever you say as an educator,
Yes.
I remember things that were said to me, positive and not so positive things. I take on the positives, and
Right.
the ones that weren't positive, I let it fuel me to be motivated to do others things to make
Others.
sure
Yes.
that everybody else felt that way. One of the things is that there is power in words and
Very
service
much so.
industry. So those that are educators, those that are healthcare field, those that are in the service industry, be encouraged, be empowered, be hopeful. Yes,
That's right.
we're in this pandemic, but one of the things as you play, the peace affirmation, you have to be infused with hope and faith.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can just
You
share how
you
you.
have to definitely. So like today, in the class, one of the students brought up like it was like a concern with the instruments because I teach wind instruments. It's band. The only instrument that you do not blow into is a drum. So everything else, flute, clarinet,
Oh,
sax,
so wait, I have a question. So drum is not considered band because I wanted to
It's
play.
it is
I
band,
wanted to play.
but it's not a wind instrument. So there isn't that aspect of air because last year
Okay,
there was a lot of concern because of wind instruments. So one of my
okay,
students was like, "Well, what if?" And I said, "Listen, we're not even going to speak that." I was like, "We're here. Our focus is to learn these instruments. Our focus is to play and enjoy music." And I'm like, "Don't we all love music?" And they're like, "Yeah, we love music." So I had to shift it real quick
yes,
because I realized like that child's fear or concern or whatever, maybe like how we were talking about exactly. Yes. And sometimes we as parents, or maybe their parents don't even realize like if they have certain fears or certain concerns, that's going like that. It's trickling all over their kids. And then they're bringing it to school. And then it may be coming up in a conversation. And because I know words create or words have power, I was like, oh, no, no. I was like, shut it down. We forming a hedge.
shut it down. Clamp,
Room.
clamp. Shut it
No, we speak life in this room.
down.
So
One of
yeah,
the viewers, Micheline LaFrance Johnson, she said music is a beautiful form of ministry. She just,
yes, it is. It is
yeah,
definitely like and music like it I truly believe it helps to, usher in the spirit of God. Music sets the atmosphere. Music is very powerful. So thank you so much for saying that. It is a beautiful form of ministry.
yes, yes. And then how did you know that? What inspired you to write the book or the books?
Okay.
You have
So,
multiple.
yes, well, okay, yeah, we just have books. Well, the first book of Walk with God, that's basically my testimony of that situation of coming out. And then resilience is about bouncing back from challenges. But this latest book, Faith and,
Okay, can
and
you go
Imagination.
one at a time? Because we might think that's all one title.
Okay, okay, sure, sure. Okay, okay. All right.
One the
So,
prophecy.
yes, yes,
Talking
okay.
to a daughter
Definitely.
of a professor. Processes. There's a process. So show
Yes,
us,
process.
show and tell, and then what was.
Okay, so the first book, I don't know if you can see it on camera,
A
it's A
walk
Walk with
guide.
God,
Okay.
okay? And it's called Living the Overcoming and Limitless Life. And this book, um, oh gosh, this book, God gave me the title while I was on my lunch break at work
Wow.
in
Really?
the quiet of my classroom because it was amazing because during this season, God had it so that there were a lot of like prophetic people around me. Even my Bible teacher, she was very prophetic. And I remember like a couple ministers kept telling me, "You're supposed to be writing." They would ask me, like, "Where's your books?" There were no books then, Elizabeth. There were no books. I didn't have, they were like, "Where's your books, woman of God? You're supposed to be writing." I'm like, "What books?" Like, I don't understand. So one day in the quiet, it's like, sometimes God will whisper things on your
Yes.
heart.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
he whispered that title of Walk with God. Because I'm like, what am I
Wow.
going to write about? And he's like, you're going to write about your walk with me and how I'm getting you through this situation.
Wow.
And this book has practical tools on how to walk with God. And of course, faith. Faith is the running theme through all of my books, but having faith in God gets you through everything. The second book is Resilience, Seven Keys to Bounce Back. And this is practical tools on how to bounce back from any challenge, the power to press forward, because you can go through a challenge, but now it's like, how do you bounce back and move forward? Because sometimes we go through a challenge and we get stuck there and we stay stagnant. And it's so important that we keep moving. So this book is about how to keep moving. And then my third book, Faith and Imagination, and it's Keys to Effortless Living.
Okay.
This book came about because one, I noticed like, okay, of course, in 2020, there was like a lot of panic and fear, girl, and amongst Christians. And I was like, what are we doing? I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, no. I was
And I
like,
get it.
God,
Amen.
what?
Yes.
Like,
Yes. It was
it,
like
it
this. You
makes
know
me
what it
want to,
was?
Elizabeth,
I tell
God
you
forgive,
what
it
it
makes me
was.
want to scream. It just,
It was. I'm glad you're able to affirm and confirm
whew,
that because I, entered 2020. It was so interesting. We had a business discussion about 2019 and 2020, and it was like people were just like so excited about 2020. Like, yeah, 2020 is my year, double vision, all this great stuff, and no one would have ever, never, ever.
no,
I say it to people all the time. When the master's program in '99, I was like, I heard of the word pandemic, but it
uh-huh,
was in the textbook. It was only epidemics that occurred, not pandemic. The
exactly.
pandemic was the Spanish flu in 1900s.
Yes.
So people, like I said, that supposedly said that they're believers and they have walked by faith and not by sight, they were all treating it like the sky was falling. The sky is
I
falling.
know, I know. And that for me, like it two things it did for me. One, it was like, oh no, no, we can't be out here representing God like that. You gotta know some of you, we can't be doing Jesus like that. One. Two, it made me upset because I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, I can understand like if you're a non-believer or I don't know how other faiths work with their faith in God, but as Christians we know we serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the same God that raised Jesus raised from the dead, gave sight to the blind, he raised Lazarus, lame, like disciples walked with him, miracle signs and wonders, it says, follow those that believe. And I felt like the Lord, I was asking God, I was like, why are so many Christians panicking and not moving in faith? And it's like, because the Lord, and I felt like the Lord spoke back to me that because people aren't really operating in faith. People can talk faith. And it's like the most startling thing to me were Christians that were so scared and not really moving in faith. And the thing is, it's like people can talk faith, but are you really living it?
Are you
So
living?
this book helps us to to learn how to walk by faith and use imagination, because the word says that you shall say to the mountain, be thou removed, like
Mm,
Job 22:28 says, "You shall decree a thing, and it shall be established."
Mhm.
We have to learn to get our words aligned with God's word and learn to speak life, because I saw a lot of Christians were like, "Oh my goodness, this is so bad. I'm so scared." Like, no, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. But if you don't know that and you're not in the word, you don't know to say that to counteract what's happening out here, So I just felt like this book was necessary. It's necessary.
So
And the
that,
thing is, like, that's the part that startled me was so much. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like too much. I can
yeah,
understand, like I said,
it
from
really
other.
is. It really is. And a lot of us, everybody's built differently, right?
Yes.
Sometimes say, "Oh, you're built." There's a commercial say, "Oh, you're built Ford strong. Oh, you're tough." This, that, and the other. Almost like Iron Man, like a Marvel character. And I
Hmm.
would speak to other believers, and I would say, people that have strong faith in God, whether whatever their faith was, whether they were Muslim, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm feeling the same way." Like, there are people that are believers that are not believing, and they're panicking, and they're going into levels of depression and anxiety and
Yes.
fear and speaking negativity and not speaking life. And it was even some of my strong warriors, I would be talking to them, and they were not even speaking words of hope and
Mm.
vision and seeing future. They just saw, like, this is the end. And I
Right. I
was like,
know.
wow. So even in 2021, the beginning, I remember telling my coach, my lifestyle and business coach, God is telling me to pull back from these live streams and start writing, because some of these people need to see some of these books
Yes.
and need
Yes.
to see the
Yes.
tools and the strategies.
Sure.
And there's been some different things that have been shared on social media. Said your survival guide will be your story will be somebody's survival guide.
Bible guy. Yes.
And what I found was that a lot of different colleagues and family and friends and people that were just pulling in different directions, and how we're going to overcome, and how we're going to how. And I just said, whoa,
I know. I
you
know.
dig deep,
Dig deep. Yes.
dig
It can't be
deep.
surface level, Elizabeth. And that's what I feel like you're saying, like, you got to dig deep. Faith can't be surface level. Like, we have to go further, you
You got
know?
to first go
Yeah,
further.
different levels of faith and understanding. Some unfortunately lost faith completely. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
Some
Yeah.
Micheline commented. She said, "So true. Some of us Christians are further along on our journey, different levels of faith and understanding. Unfortunately, lost
Yeah.
faith completely." And my condolences to the LaFrance Johnson family, because she just recently lost her dad last
Mm.
week. He passed away. Yeah, and she's one of my prayer partners. I have,
Mm.
you know, as believers, you have to have your circle of prayer partners
Of
and people
course. Of course.
life into. So
Yes.
I thank Micheline for tuning in and
Thank
sharing
you.
that. But like you said, in regards to words, power in words and atmospheric shifter, I even that this is what has you inspired when I saw the book about them. Can you show the book again? Resilience.
Sure. Yes. Resilience. Hold on a
Resilience,
second. 7 keys
7
to
keys
bounce
to
back.
bounce back. So I
Yes.
feel like the world right now is in a period of needing some true bounce back. Like,
Mm.
be a whole tour right there. I'm, I'm giving you some I'm giving you some free tips right there. You might want to write that down. No, serious.
I know. Wait a minute. You're
Well,
the second. That's like confirmation. That's the
that's
second
a
person that was
whole
like,
tour.
girl, you
Can
got
I
three
tell can
courses.
I tell you, you know,
Thank you, Elizabeth. I
no,
needed
no
to hear
problem.
that. I
Anytime,
needed to hear
anytime.
that.
My dad, he always used to say, and hear this clear. And he used to like to say, I want to be crystal clear, like crystal
So
clear.
clear. Like, you don't
Um,
listen.
Don't miss it. Okay. He said, listening is an investment.
Mm.
The response is the reward. So what that means,
Ooh.
i.e.,
Wow.
i.e., if you don't listen, you are going to miss the blessing.
The
You're going
blessing.
to miss the opportunity to be protected. You're
Okay.
going to miss the queue. You're
Yes.
going to miss the bus. You're
Yes.
going to miss the train. You're going to miss it.
That's right.
And that is one of the things that I always say to people when I coach them on, there's coaches in on all around industry. But on the nursing level, because I love nursing, and nursing and healthcare, wow, we need we need your tour. Your tour of resilience
Oh my God, you said it, the
healthcare.
tour.
Okay? Because
Wow.
yeah, okay.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I'm even willing to help you stream like show I'm very good with taking things from vision to execution, however you want it.
Okay.
People get excited because I come with levels of excitement like my mother and father, but then they don't realize that my intensity and excitement, that's for you to execute, not for
Right,
me.
to execute it. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so I say to
Exactly.
you, there's such a need. There is such a need because reason why I'm sharing this, let me just bounce real quick to this example. 1999, I was a 2 years a nurse. And as a new nurse, younger nurse, you always get stuck with either working both holidays. You're working Christmas and New Year's.
Oh my
So
gosh.
for
Yes.
1999, that was Y2K. Do you remember
Y2K. Yes. Yeah.
Y2K? Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
The
The
computers
world.
are gonna blow up.
Yes.
Everything's gonna shut down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prince. I remember, playing 3 songs. My mother was like, was praying on a rosary bead. My father had finished praying and he was fast asleep. I was getting ready, and I'm gonna make you laugh and the audience laugh. And I was in my mind right because I really didn't want to go because Caribbean, African, we're Caribbean culture, African culture, Black culture, just Black people. We're to go to church, get ready
Church.
for church, midnight service, midnight.
Midnight service. That's right.
So I was like, so when girl, I try to pitch my way out of those shifts. I was like, well, I could do this, and they're like, no, but they were like, but we'll pay you $150 an hour. They were paying $150 an hour. And I'm
Ooh.
like, but the money doesn't mean anything to me,
Mean
right?
anything. You want it to be, I know.
So the 3 songs, real quick, I played. Okay, you remember we talked about faith and imagination because I had
Yes.
faith. I had the faith, girl, that nothing was going to happen. Everybody around buzzing at the hospital, calling on the phone, people calling out. I
Oh
was
my
a
God.
nurse, yeah, and the possibility of maybe being in charge. It was
It was a lot.
it was a lot of stress. So I remember the first song I played was Biggie Smalls, Notorious B, whatever. It was the whole group, Puff Daddy and Little.
Uh-huh.
It's all about the Benjamins, babe.
What about Benjamin?
I was trying to get my mind right, like,
Yeah,
okay,
get your mind
you're
focused.
about to make $150 an hour, okay? You don't really want to be here, but it's all about the Benjamins, baby,
This
right?
baby.
But I still wasn't. Nah, I wasn't convinced. I was, playing all about the Benjamins. So that didn't work. So I was like, okay, let me play Prince because it's 1999.
Maybe.
Going to Y2K. So I like 1990 playing 1999, trying to get myself right
Amped up. Yes.
for the shift. Girl, I still wasn't.
Wasn't there.
It didn't work. Now, the song moved my mother out the bed from praying, okay, was Whitney Houston, The Bodyguard soundtrack.
Oh my goodness.
Love you, because now I was really in tears, okay? I was,
Ooh.
anybody in my family or friends that are real close to me, they'll be like, oh girl, Liz is so dramatic. But I was like torn. Like I knew nothing was gonna happen, but
Right.
it was like if something's gonna happen. So I started singing, I will always love you.
Love you.
And
Oh,
I was just shouting and my mother came out and she said, "Is everything okay? Is everything okay?" And I said, "I know nothing is gonna happen, but I just want to say today is New Year's Eve, 1999. Mommy,
yeah.
I just want to let you know I will always love you. And I believe daddy's fast asleep, but I will always love." And I got
Good.
in the car and boof, got and we were, and everybody, I call it, I almost felt like it was a Tower of Babylon,
Mm,
different cultural nurses speaking their different dialects and different
mm,
languages. And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I was
yeah.
in the computer room
Too
and
much.
finally I raised my hand because you remember we talked about shifting the atmosphere. I
Yes.
raised my hand and I said, "Man, it was so funny because I raised my hand. Everybody was talking. It was like I told you, Babylon, all these different
Oh
dialects,
my gosh.
different
Wow.
accents.
Wow.
And when I raised my hand, everybody got quiet. So
Ooh.
that's a different thing. So I said, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And she said, "Yeah, you could go to the bathroom." So I looked at the time. The time was 11:55 at night, 1999.
Wow.
So I went to the bathroom. I said, "Okay, God, it's just you and I in this bathroom. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know we ain't about to die up in here. But if I do, I have now excreted my stuff and did whatever. So whatever's gonna be will be. Have your way."
Have
When
your way,
I get
Lord.
back to my computer, it was
Yes.
12:05. Are you serious? You 12:05. You face and imagination.
Yes. Imagination.
Imagination. I was already imagining that we were gonna be nothing
Everything
was
was
gonna happen.
fine because you already said it was going to be fine
And
even
everybody
beforehand.
talking, 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 talking. The nurse educator couldn't even get the group calm.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
said? I said, "Hey, everybody! Happy New Year! It's 12:05."
Wow.
Complete utter silence. Everybody's energy
Went.
shifted, started
Shifted.
smiling, laughing. The educator was able to conduct her class, and all was well. And there was peace in the Middle East. Okay, there was peace in the East.
Yeah.
So, I say that to say, like, have you ever thought of a time where you were like, wow, how am I going to get to this point in my life? Can you share with the audience that you had to imagine beyond
Yeah,
the
I it's amazing because like I've used even before writing this book, I didn't realize like I felt like the Lord was prepping me for faith and imagination because like I said, the last few years after going through that painful divorce and I had to walk by faith and envision a better life. And I
Mhm.
knew like another like real like another life example besides that was a couple years ago when my dad had to go in for surgery and he had to it was like a heart procedure. Now my mom said to me, she's like, it's really not, major. It's a minor procedure, but I think she was just saying it because she knows how I would be like, because that's my dad. Just even
Mhm,
talking
mhm,
about it, it's like, oh, it's
mhm,
like
mhm.
that. Um, and my mom, she's a retired RN, so I knew she knew what I guess the procedure would really be, but so she didn't
Mhm.
like tell me the full extent of it. She probably
Yes,
brought
yes,
it down, right?
yes.
So all I know was that day, even before going in, the Lord led me to go on a fast. But
Mhm,
before he even went in for surgery, Elizabeth, I had imagined in my mind, I like visualized, I closed my eyes and I visualized like after surgery, after recovery and everything, where he would be discharged, I can leave with him from the hospital.
mhm,
So
mhm.
lo and behold, the day of the surgery, after the surgery, the cardiologist calls the family. So it's my mom, my sister, myself. We go in and the operating cardiologist. And my dad is like kind of like waking up now. But the doctor says, I'll never forget as long as I live, he said, your surgery, it went well. But he's like, I need to tell you something. He's like, your heart, it stopped twice,
Oh my,
but we got it back.
my.
And while I know, like, I so respect highly, especially RNs, because my mother was an RN, you're an RN, like, love RNs and the medical field, but it pales in comparison to the power of God. And I know God was in that room that day, and God answered my prayer by me walking in faith and using imagination to allow him to stay here for now. You know what I mean? Like, so I just I used it. And it's like imagination, like, it God has given us that gift to create our life. So even with like everything with like last year, especially not even last year now, because we're going on 2 years, 2020, when that thing first hit, the big C hit on the land. And there was so much panic and anxiety, and schools were shutting down, and it was worry. And I just would envision in my mind, like, no, I'm getting back to the classroom. Everything is fine. Matthew's going to be okay. My family's okay. My parents are okay. People that I love are okay. I would just continue to cover people in prayer, but envision and speak in my mind that everyone was okay. And we're supposed to use that. We're supposed to, like, the Bible says, you shall say to the mountain, be thou removed. So we're supposed to use our faith and imagination to create our life, because imagination, it really creates and forms our reality. But
Yes.
too often we get consumed with what's showing up in the 3D, or what the news is putting out, or what someone else's worries are, right? And this is why, like, going back to what you said, Elizabeth, that day in 1999 when you were at the hospital and you stepped away and you went into the room and you like prayed to God. Sometimes, like, as you were talking, sometimes us as believers, we got to step away because there's a lot of noise. And literally that day, that there was a lot of noise around you. So like the last 2 years, the Lord was like, has been telling me, you got to shut out the noise. That's how we walk by faith and imagination. Like like a horse with blinders. We got to stay focus and run our race and stay focused on the course that God has set for us. So,
Mhm.
in order to do that, we got to really tap into our faith. As you were saying earlier, we got to go deep in our faith. It can't be, if it's just surface level, I'm sorry to say, you're going to be caught up in all of the stuff, in the latest news. And if you don't notice, every week, it's like this. It's like a circle, it's like a cycle,
Well,
you
I got
know?
better. It's almost like I
And
don't
like a seesaw. The Lord's been giving me last year the image of like the playground. You know how the seesaw, like
yes.
back in the day, I don't know if I'm dating myself. They don't probably have that anymore. The playground.
Okay,
But
girl, I don't know what that is.
you know,
I was actually gonna use the imagery of when someone has first learned how to swim. You know,
wow.
you're swimming, learning how to swim. You're treading. If you have to learn to tread water, right?
The border. Oh my
You have to
goodness.
tread
Yes.
the water. And I don't know. Did you learn how to swim? I don't want to
A
make a.
little bit. My son is a
Okay.
swimmer. He's a real
Okay.
swimmer.
So I
He's a real
my
swimmer.
that's something I learned how to swim early age, 6 years old. But you have to tread the water,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
breathing. So and there's a lot of moving parts in regards to, and you have to believe you go.
Right.
Breathe. You take a breath. Okay, you got, and then you got like, and if you don't have the goggles, you see, back then,
Right. Right.
we goggles, but I had to pitch it to my dad. Dad, the chlorine is really bothering. So that whole thing. So finally, he understood that I needed goggles. But when I used to open my eyes, I was like, oh my god, I'm opening my eyes. And you look at the water, and you're like, oh my god, okay, can I do this? Can I do breathe? Can I do? So you have to have a level of belief in yourself that you
Yes.
can do
Yes.
this.
Yes.
And then you master the different techniques of where it's the back float. That's a whole nother realm in itself. And then,
Mm-hmm.
front stroke, and then to coordinate, doing the stroke,
Of
everything,
course.
just taking the whole balancing, that's a whole feat in itself. So
Of course.
that's what faith is really about, like balancing on water,
Mm.
just walking on water and believing
Water.
you could tread it. you know,
Wow.
knowing that you're not going to, almost like the Titanic,
Yeah.
whatever that song was. You
Well, we'll go on.
know, where,
Yes.
where the boat is,
Just
sinking.
thinking.
You have to leave. Like I just always think about. I don't even know how I sat in a movie for almost 4.5 hours, 4 hours long, but just watching how these people were actually like, you know, there were believers that still believed while they were on that boat,
Yes.
sinking. And some of them survived. So it was,
Some of them survive. It's here.
yeah,
It's here. It's here. Everything, like, and that's the thing, everything starts in the mind. Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So, like, our thoughts literally create. So
hmm
we as believers have to stay on top of our thoughts and like discipline our thoughts so that we're only focusing on the things that we want to create in our life, the things that we want to see come to pass. So it's like blocking out the fear, blocking out anxiety. Oh, they said this is the latest thing on the news. Don't even hear it. Like, so for me, I don't even turn on the news because it's like, I know where like a lot of it is negative energy, negative, like stuff to like, you can be up here, your emotions, and later on you're like, damn here. Cause it's like, who got shot? Who got killed? Who got, you know what I mean? It's just so much, like it's heavy, right? So on purpose, it's like there's other things that I'll focus on. I may listen to some inspirational music, some jazz, some, like you mentioned, Sade, something worship music, something uplifting, or watch a program that's like inspirational. So because our thoughts create, we don't realize it. And then sometimes those thoughts, they go into the subconscious and then it becomes deeply embedded and becomes deeply rooted, and like those beliefs become solidified. And sometimes there are things that we don't want to show up in our reality, or there's things that we don't want to see happen, but because it's been so ingrained in us, it becomes a part of our belief system. So
yes, yes. So can you share with the audience tonight,
yes.
what is your definition of overcomer? I see that you post, and thank you so much. I look forward to your posts and a few others every morning. Like it's like
Me
right on.
too.
I'm like I get up like clockwork, 5:30,
Oh,
5. Like yes, yes, 6 o'clock. Yes, woo, yes,
thank
girl.
you so much. And I always, before I post, I always ask the Lord, like, okay, God, what do you want me to share? What should I speak on? And so for me, an overcomer is someone who is able to like face life's challenges, right? And like use faith to be inspired and empowered, okay? And really taking that pain and pushing it to using it to push them to their purpose. That's what an overcomer is. Someone who's able to take that challenge and use it to make them a better person. And that's why, like, the word says we are more than conquerors. Like the challenges don't make, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
they don't they shouldn't hinder us, but in a way it helps to propel us in some way, how God
Yes.
uses everything.
Yes. Yes. I love
Yeah.
it. You just said it doesn't hinder us, but it propels us.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, what is your definition about thriving, especially in the midst of this? I call it pandemic over.
Yeah.
We are in a pandemic still,
Uh-huh.
and I believe it's a level of overwhelm. Remember, we
Wow.
talked about words have power. I don't give any light. I don't give any energies to the words chaos, confusion, because as I've
Right.
said before, God is not of chaos and confusion. He's of
That's right.
he's organized. He's of decency and order. So, you know, what is your definition in regards to thriving? Because I feel that in 2020, this is just my opinion personally.
Hmm.
In 2020, a lot of us didn't know what to anticipate or what to expect. So we were just surviving uh,
Right.
the first 6 to 10 months of 2020. Now, 2021 was a whole nother shift because we, as across the globe, saw so many lives lost.
Yes. Yes.
And just as you mentioned, you have to be mindful of what you're getting in your visual gates, your eyes, what you see
Mm-hmm.
in your eyes,
Yeah, I
what
get,
you're
yep.
getting in your ear gate,
Ear.
hearing. You also have to be mindful of what you're speaking out.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So, what would be your definition of thriving in the midst of this pandemic overwhelm?
Sure. My goodness. I would say in order to thrive, especially amidst everything that's happening right now, is to try at best to keep your focus forward. And you mentioned earlier, like how you believe in having big visions. I'm a visionary too. So, and I think like it's like a common thread because I find that the people that have a vision, they're the ones that, yes, we're still all in this same, like it's the same day, right? To the same date as today. It's 2021. We're all here. But those of us that have a vision, they tend to thrive because they keep their focus forward. They're focusing on what they're trying to create. They're focusing on the things that God has placed inside of them to accomplish. They realize like their life has a purpose and has a meaning. Like we realize like we're not just here just to be here. Like we look back and you can see, like you said, from 2020 to 2021, there has been a lot of sadness and tragedy. But like which is so heart wrenching, right? But for those of us that are still here, God still has a plan and a purpose. So I feel like it's almost like we owe it to Him to thrive because it's like He kept us still here. Like it,
Mm-hmm.
like it's Him that gives us strength, right? It's Him that gives us the gift to live day by day. So we need to, at best, to try to keep our focus forward and
Yes.
like
Focus
as
forward.
that scripture says, like pressing on towards the mark, forgetting those things which are behind and pressing
Yes.
towards the mark. So if we can
Pressing
at best.
towards the mark. I love it. Focus forward. Wow.
Yes.
Sounds like another book. Focus forward. Might
Uh-oh.
want to might
Uh-oh.
write
Uh-oh.
that down. Uh-oh. you know, I'm always,
Oh my God. First
you
the
know,
book.
I have there's a Reiki therapist I would go to every now and then, and she's like, Liz, I need you to like breathe. I need you to stop thinking, because she's like, she she said I never met a person who held their breath. I think she said I held my breath for like a minute and 30 something. Like I held it a long time. She said,
Wow.
tap me, like breathe. She was like, you're like a computer brain go and sometimes, and yeah. So I agree with you. You have to focus forward. So in regards to any tips or tools that you can share with those in the audience tonight or those that will catch the replay
Sure.
that helped you not only to keep focus forward, but to be also faith forward and to keep imagining and to keep hope alive. Because I feel right now, as again, I say it's my third time for your bounce back tour of
I love it. I
resilience,
love it. The tour.
resiliency.
Ooh, we're gonna talk.
Um,
We're gonna talk. We gotta
yeah,
get this
we'll
tour
talk.
going.
Hope is so important right now. Hope and faith
Yes.
are cousins. Okay.
Yes.
Um, a hopeful person refuses to have a negative attitude. These are some
That's
affirmations that, I usually go over.
yeah.
Start the day with a attitude. Be thankful, be grateful, be satisfied.
That's
Don't
right.
worry about what the next person is achieving.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know the work that they had to put in behind the scenes. You
Scenes.
don't know
Yes.
the tears that were shed. You don't
That's
know the sacrifices that were made. You don't know
yeah.
sleepless nights. You don't know the negative
Yes.
$2.50 bank account that
Right.
they
It's true.
had.
You don't know what the
You
all
don't
the
know what they're
details
going
behind the
through.
scenes. It's
So
true.
everybody has a season.
That's
So
right.
if you can just kind of share, um, what are some tools and tips that you have been able to, anchor yourself? Like, okay, Dara, because sometimes this is how I talk in the mirror. Okay, Liz. Today is January 24th. I'm thankful. I'm grateful. I'm satisfied. I give God all the glory, honor, and the praise. What are we doing today? You
Yes.
want to order my steps. I told myself in the mirror, hey, girl, don't let me have my glasses on. It's almost like I got 3D vision. Like, God's giving me all kinds of downloads. Like, okay, you're doing this. Boof, you're doing that. Boof.
Yes. Yes.
I tell
Yes.
people all the time. They're like, I have a cousin, and you probably know him. He's I call him the family DJ. Bob, shout out to Bob. Bob and I had one time I said, a conversation. I said, Bob, why is it that people think, you know, we're just like whimsical, like we just have a fairy dust, like we just poof, we throw fairy dust around, or we take a wand and say poof, or like I dream of genie, pow, it's gonna happen. Yes, you got to put in faith, you got to believe, you got to put in the work.
The
So
word.
some tools before we close
Yeah,
out.
definitely. Oh my goodness. So one of the things, like every day, like you said about gratitude, I pray and I'll wake up in the morning. I say, thank you, God, for another day. And I'll say like a prayer to God. I may read a scripture. I'm also big with journaling. Like every day I journal out my affirmations. So I'll say something like, I'm thankful for another day. I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise. Like I speak to different areas of my life. I've also like some days, yes, it's get in the mirror, like, okay, Dara, God, what are we doing today? This is, like it's that like to build up your spirit because that's the one thing we have to build up our spirit before we get out there in the world so that we can continue to be that light, right? That light that shines before others, like the word speaks. So it's
Yes.
so important. For me, affirmations daily, every day. My affirmations, my prayer time, my journaling time is really important. Sometimes it's worship music, just having worship music and just like laying before God and allowing the Lord to like give me those downloads. It's so important. So I find like those things are good. And then also visualizing. Like if there's something that I want to accomplish, like even with this book, amidst like trying to write it, there was times where I literally was like, okay, Lord, what is the next chapter? And I would close my eyes and I'm like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to speak on? And I would just start visualizing and he'd give me he's so awesome like that. He just,
Yes.
I
Yes.
need everybody to believe in God. Come on,
Awesome.
everybody. Let's
Awesome.
go.
Awesome.
Let's shift
Awesome.
it.
Awesome.
Let's shift the
Thank you.
atmosphere. Let's move
Thank
in
you.
faith.
Yes, atmosphere is shifting.
Yes.
So, what would be the best way for those that would want to get in contact with you or book you for an opportunity for you to, play affirmation or whatever piece that you,
Sure.
you know,
Of course. They could find me at daramarieproductions.com. That's my website. I'm also on Instagram at Dara Marie Productions. I also have a YouTube channel where I talk more about faith and imagination and give tools, and that is at Be an Overcomer. That's the ministry side of it. So
awesome, awesome. Thank you so much.
thank you so much for inviting me, Elizabeth. This has
Yes,
been an amazing conversation. This is just
yes,
to
and
God be the glory.
I look forward to it. I think the next conversation we'll have, because I'm very big on culture, as you know, and just like you, to talk about the cultural connections. Because last year around this time, I had a conversation about Pan African connections, but I really
Nice.
to talk, to have a deep dive discussion about the Maroons,
The Maroons.
and the Maroons. Uh, that were the slaves that originated from Sierra Leone,
Sierra Leone,
or to Jamaica.
Jamaica.
That and I tell all of my colleagues and friends and family that are of Jamaican descent. I said that's why like you Jamaicans and I am considered the international nurse. I love everybody and everybody seems to love me, right? At least I
Yeah,
think that, right? But but
of
for the
course
most
they do.
part, yeah, but for the most part, Jamaicans and Sierra Leoneans like we're on the same page, same vibe because it's like yes we can. No, there's no limitations. Let's rock, let's roll. How are we getting this done? Okay,
That's right.
we it's almost kind of like if I may make the reference of the Jamaican vibe, the movie Cool Runnings.
Cool
So
running.
yeah, so they were like they laughed at them, right? They had the vision, going back to faith and imagination. They had the
Nation.
vision to create this bobsled in the midst of a Caribbean island. No knowledge of ice, no knowledge of snow, nothing. But
Wow.
they figured it out. Same thing
Yes.
with the, we most of us have iPhones, right? If
Yes.
if we didn't have Steve Jobs,
Jobs. Yep.
who had the vision, who had the faith, who had the idea, he
That's right.
pushed past pain to purpose. Even the streaming apps that we're using.
Oh my
You
goodness. Of course.
so I thank you so much. I'm so honored. I'm sorry that we went over by 6 minutes,
That's
but
okay. Thank
thank you
you.
so much. And for those of you, once again, this is Elizabeth A. Corshu. I am the founder and CEO of Nurse Exec Innovations, career coaching and global health consulting brand designed specifically for nurses and healthcare professionals. Please follow me on www.nurseexecinnovations.com. I'm going to be doing a relaunch of my website sometime next month, but you can go and take a look at it and get some information about the services and things that I offer. But thank you so much, Dara. I look
Thank
forward
you so much, Elizabeth.
to offline, and anything I can assist with the Bounce Back Tour, feel free to reach out. Okay. And thank you.
Yes,
All right. Take care. And say hi to Matthew.
I will. Say hi to the boys for me.
I will.
This has
Take care.
been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.